Access granted. Transferring data. Activated.
Well, good morning. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully the sound is good. Hopefully everything's going. Somebody chat, let me know if you can hear me all right. I'm flying like solo today. Marcus, this is, let's see, episode 5. Every other episode, Marcus has either been sitting beside me or has been on a Zoom call the whole time. And this time, Steve's saying thank you. Everything looks good. Good. Yay. Um, but he has a dental appointment this morning, getting those fangs sharpened. So I am. I've got you guys. You guys are my safety net. So if something goes wrong, I'll be sitting there watching the chat. How's everybody doing? Hi, Steve. Hi, Paul. Hi, Armando. I hope everybody's had a good weekend. So we're gonna play some Scythe today. If you were here last week, you saw that the machine was not happy that I was beating it and crashed my system twice. Each time we just rebooted, started a new stream, but it meant that on Twitch it ended up as 3 separate videos. I think that Marcus was able to stitch them together for the YouTube version, but I thought, let's play this game. Play this again. See if we can get one nice, good, continuous stream. And the machine really demanded that we do this. Demanded a rematch. So I think it's time to show the machine that it's just not going to win this game. It just doesn't really have a chance. It needs to up its game considerably. Yeah. So. How's everybody doing? Everybody have a good weekend. I have been doing the Seattle International Film Festival thing this weekend. So I think Dee and I over the first 3 days of the festival have seen 12 movies maybe and some really good ones. So very, very excited. We look forward to this festival all year long. And if you're in the Seattle area, highly recommend just taking a week and a half off in May and going to SIF. That's very, 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 very good. All right, so let me talk about Scythe. Like I said, I did explain it last time. I'm gonna explain it again as if I hadn't done that. If you watched the last time, some of you, I know you were here last week. Actually, Scythe is complex enough; it probably bears listening to the explanation of the game twice. It's a deep strategy game. If the goal of this show is to teach and play strategy games, you can't ignore Scythe. It is one of the great strategy games of our age. Okay, so let's see. How do we start with Scythe? Okay, well, first of all, let's go to the game, the right border. Okay, here's the. I'm playing this. I'm playing the Steam version of Scythe. It's called Scythe Digital Edition. It has. It's been criticized for not adding anything new to the game, but I think that's great. I mean, this digital implementation is a great implementation. It is. You're playing the actual game. You're playing Scythe the way it's meant to be played. There's no shenanigans. Scythe is a board game for 1 to 5 players or up to 7 players with the expansion. We will play with the expansion today, but I'm going to keep it to 5 players, me plus 4 AIs. I think that's a good size. It starts to get a little cramped with 7 players. So I think 5 is good. This was designed by Jamie Stegmaier and published by Stonemaier Games in 2016. This is set in an alternate history of 1920s Europe, post World War I, pre World War II, with mechs. It's called Diesel Punk. Imagine these mechs are big and powerful and clunky and smell bad and make lots of noise. That's you can't look at this game without being stunned by the art. Jakub Rozalski is the artist who it sets a mood. I'm pretty sure my neighbors, the Baileys, bought this game just to paint the miniatures because it comes with 4 mechs per faction and a hero, a character, if you will, per faction. And let's see. Paul says you family and I got caught a stage performance of To Kill a Mockingbird in Austin. Wow, nice, good. It's a great play. Well, yeah, good on you. In this game, each player controls a faction that is kind of loosely inspired by the political climate of Eastern Europe, World War One, post World War One, and these factions are all converging on this space to establish a foothold of power where the old factory, the defunct factory, is out. And so we will start with our factions as pretty weak, just a character and a couple of workers, and we're going to build up and try to. And each faction, of course, is ultimately competing for points, which are expressed in coins in this game. So in this game, whoever has the most coins at the end of the game wins. But there's a bunch of coin rewards that you get at the end of the game for accomplishing certain things, which we'll get into. There is a list of achievements that you can go for during the game. We call them stars, and you'll see because they're represented by a little token that looks like a star. And once you learn this game strategy, you will. When you get to the point where you're competent with this game, depending on what faction you get and what player mat you get, which is a variable in terms of how your moves are regimented, and they're independent from faction. And so when you play the game, you take a faction and a player mat. And so the different combinations of factions and player mats means there's a lot more variety in the gameplay than just the number of factions. It's the number of factions times the number of player mats. So based on that player mat and what faction you are, some of these stars will be more achievable than others. And some of them are always easier and some of them are difficult, or almost always easier or almost always more difficult. But you will want to have an idea of which 6 stars you are going for when you play this game at the beginning, and what your strategy is going to be to get them. Because while the game feels like a resource management, engine building, maybe fighting sort of game, and all those elements are pieces of it, the game is really a race. The game is really a race to get to those 6 stars. Not to say whoever gets the 6 stars first wins, but whoever gets to the 6th star, the game does end immediately when somebody gets their 6th star, and that faction will have a point advantage because you do get points for getting stars. So by definition, they'll have more stars than anybody else, whoever ends it first. Doesn't mean they'll win. Okay, so you will get points at the end of the game for a bunch of things, like how many stars you've earned, like I just said, how many tiles you control, or how many hexes on the map you control, how many resources you have, and how many structures you've built and where you've built them. And so let's see. All right, so let's take a look at the setup for this and getting started. So Gabriel, have you spotted the little Easter egg for today? I have an Easter egg to show for Gabriel, for Armando. Not yet, huh? All right. Well, keep working on it. Animus Exa, yes. Yeah, I highly recommend this board game. I mean, that's why I'm playing it. I mean, I'm still early enough in this show that I'm only playing the games I really like. I suppose at some point I'll have to dig deeper. So I highly recommend this game. And oh, it's too bad, Armando. I do recommend this game. And by the way, the board game, I don't know if the board game's out of print. I have no idea. I would be surprised. I mean, I would think of this as a perennial, with top shelf sort of game, but it's certainly possible it's going out of print. I'm sure you can buy used copies on eBay or whatever. But buy the Steam version, Scythe Digital Edition. That's what I'm playing today, and see if you like it, and then buy the board game version if you do. So, I don't know. Anyway, all right, let's play. New game. So the way this interface works here at the beginning is it's got a spot for up to 7 players. Like I said, I'm only going to play 5-player. I'm going to play Nordic, and using the patriotic player map, which we'll take a closer look at soon. Your local game store was telling me the company that manufactured the game went defunct. Did Stonemaier Games go out of business? I have no idea. But somebody, check the website, find out if they're still in business. I have no idea. That would surprise me. They've produced so many great games, but you never know when somebody decides to hang their hat. Okay, I'm going to play against 4 of the hardest bots. They're not that hard. Don't be too impressed. Let's see. Keep this at random. But I am gonna set each of the bots to a specific faction, and there's no. The only reason here is that I want to set them to the classic factions of the game because I don't know why. It just feels charming, I guess, in a way. And that's Saxon. Okay, so Nordic, Polania, Rusviet, Crimea, Saxony. These are the games that the factions that we'll have, and I set them all to hard AIs. And I'm leaving it random as to which player mats I get. They'll all be different player mats. Nobody will get the same. No 2 factions will get the same player mat. And I'm going to listen. I will only undo if I accidentally click something I didn't mean to. That's I'm not going to use that to cheat, really. And then, but when you get my age, I tend to like. My dad used to call it butterfingering your mouse, where it's just like it's happening to me now too. Okay, this looks like a good start. Okay, so I have to start. It's gonna take us now to the sort of the hey, here's all about you. Okay, so I'm playing Nordic. It has a faction ability called Swim. That means that my workers can swim across rivers without having to have a mech or take them using a riverwalk ability. So that is it's an okay ability. I don't think it's an ability to write home about. So excited, but it's an ability that it certainly doesn't suck. It's nice. Structure bonus. This gives us a clue as to where, if we want to get points for building structures. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I'm not going to build any structures in this game, in this particular configuration. I would if in other situations, but I'm not in this game because my setup is not conducive for doing that. We have 2 secret objectives. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that you're trying to get to 6 stars. One of the stars that you can get is to complete an objective, and you're assigned 2 randomly. If this was a board game, we'd have a stack of cards, and we'd deal out 2 cards to everybody, and you hold on to these 2 cards, keep them secret, and at some point in the game, when you've satisfied the condition of one of those cards, you would say, aha, here it is, and you would reveal the card, everybody would agree, and you would get a star for doing that. So obviously this is all automated. It's telling me that I have 2 objectives to choose from. One is to, this is down the bottom left of this screen. One is to create a permanent foothold, it's called. Build at least 3 structures. I'm not going to build structures, so hope the next one's better. Send 1 back as a warning. There's a lot of, not only is the art cool, this is cool. They do a really good job with flavor text and so forth. Oh, Cosmo, no Stonemaier Games is still very much alive and well. They're still selling on their site from what I see. They're also coming out with a sequel called Expeditions. Yes, there are several expansions to this game, and now there's a sequel in the works. Yeah, thank you. No, Cosmo, you came in perfect time. Good, thank you. Okay, so send one back as a warning. Force an opponent's worker to retreat and still have at least 7 power. Oh, phew. This, I think I would accomplish this whether it was an objective or not. I think we're in good shape to do that. We're gonna have to think about it, make sure I do it, but this objective should be achievable, which is good. In the last, I mentioned to Steve before the last game that there's something early in the setup that would change the odds of winning a bit, where I think I could still win, but it's going to be harder, and it depends on what the objectives are. And I think that this is going to be a good objective for me. Down here in the lower middle, your starting power. This 4 point, this thing looks like a centipede. Is power, which is one of the key ratings in the game. And I start with 4 of those and 1 combat card as a Nordic player, regardless of player mat. Because I'm using the patriotic player mat, I start with 6 coins and 2 popularity, which all these things will get explained in time. All right. Whew. All right. Now I'm going to press start. The game is going now. I've lost control. It's going through sort of an opening animation. It's showing the hero character for each of the factions in play. That's me, Nordic. I'm the bluish tinged guy. That's Rusviet. And then it's going back and showing the map. And now it's starting. It actually determined who the first player is. In this case, it was Polania. Now Polania has taken a turn already. So each faction will start off with a character, which is what this big miniature is. And you notice it's in a big circle spot here. This is called your home base. And nobody else can come into your home base. I can think of an exception. By the way, like many games, there are exceptions. I'm going to try to refrain from interrupting myself every time I can think of an exception. Talk about it. I'm just know that I'm going to lie every once in a while by saying nobody can ever enter your home base except for you. That's a lie. Let's see. Yes, update them. Let them know. Stonemeyer's. Yes. That's a great idea, Animus. If you could tell you would be doing a great service to the gaming industry to tell your local game store that thinks that Stonemeyer's out of business, that they are not. You might actually embarrass them sometimes. I mean, I'm not saying a retailer would ever do that on purpose, but maybe they might have said something they didn't quite realize wasn't true. There we go. Okay, so here's my faction up here. There's my character at the home base. You notice the home base isn't in a clearly a hexagon that you can see. That kind of gives you a hint that it's not a normal space. The rest of the map is all broken up into hexes. And I'm starting with a character, and I'm starting with 2 workers that are just outside my home base. That's what these little meeples are. And there you go. Yeah. To my flank, to this flank, I have Rusviet, which same thing, 1 character, 2 workers. Down here, we have Crimea, again, a character, 2 workers, just outside the home base. And then Saxony, a character and 2 workers, and then Polania, character and 2 workers. Okay, now, let me see. I'm going to grab my notes here a little bit because I want to make sure I did try and put some thought into the proper order to explain things, and take some notes. There's a lot to explain in this game. Okay, we're going to talk about the new game. We talked about the game screen. We pressed start. Yes. Okay, so we're talking about the different types of units. You don't see them here. There's a 3rd type of unit. It's the mech, which of course, yay. You don't start with any mechs at the beginning. So eventually one will show up and we'll point it out. It'll be hard to miss. And you can at most have the 1 character, 8. You start with 2 workers, but you can get up to 8 workers over the course of the game. And you have you can deploy up to 4 mechs. Once you bring something out on the board, one of these units, like more workers or mech or the characters you start with, you can never lose them. If you are in a fight or displaced for some reason, any character that would otherwise you'd think of them as dying, simply they're put in your home base and you can bring them out again. Of course, if the fight's in the middle of the board, it definitely certainly is a pain in the butt to have to go back and move them from the point that's kind of the furthest away from where the action is by that point. Okay, so you also can build structures. These would be pieces in your color that could appear on the board. Structures, once you build them, they can't move. Duh, they're not mechs. And they provide certain advantages to you, and you can get points based on where you build them. You also have tokens that, if this was a board game, you'd have these tracks out there and tokens, but here they're shown for you like this. This is on the left side of the board is the popularity track, and the popularity goes from 0 all the way up to 18. This is one of the ways you can get a star, is if you get your popularity at 18. It's pretty hard to do, and it's pretty rare that it happens. Popularity doesn't do anything, well, I shouldn't say that. It doesn't do much for you in the game. There are sometimes you may want to spend popularity to do something. Yeah, it does do something for you in the game, unless you do the things that you would have to spend. But it doesn't give you much of an advantage. But at the end of the game, for scoring, it can give you a big advantage in that the points that you get from stars or tiles or resources that I mentioned earlier are multiplied by a number that depends on what your popularity is. So looking at this track, you notice that kind of in the middle here, there's this big gold star and 3 coins above it, and in a bracket where the popularity goes from 0 up to 6. Then there's another popularity bracket that goes from 7 to 12, and the top tier popularity bracket goes from 13 to 18. So when I mentioned before that you got points for each star that you have, each achievement you have when the game ends, the number of coins you get, points or coins are basically the same thing at that point in the game. Depends on what your popularity is, cross-reference onto this chart. So if you're, like right now, my popularity, let's see, I'm blue. My popularity is 2. If the game were to end right now and I had some stars with a popularity of 2, I would get 3 coins per star. I would get 2 coins for every tile, that's these big hexagons out here on the map that I control. And I would get 1 coin for every resource that I have, that I control. But you notice that if the popularity is higher, up in the 7 to 12 bracket, these multipliers are 1 point higher. So you get 4 coins per star, 3 coins per tile that you control, etc., etc. You can see why that's a huge multiplier. So popularity can be very, very big. I'm not going to bother much with popularity in this game. I'm going to try and race to that 6 star and have enough points that I can win, even if I'm not don't have a high popularity. The problem, I'll leave it at that for now. Okay, so okay, good, you got it, great. Animus, good, glad you lucked out, got it. Okay, so the other, so those are in the board game. You have little tokens that you would use to track that. Up here is a track for stars. So when you earn one of these achievements, when you earn a star, you take one of your little tokens and you put it on the spot where you earned a star, on how that represents how you earned a star. Let me come back to explain that one. No, I'll explain it right now. What the hell? Okay, the stars are 6 upgrades. That's not going to make much sense. When I do the player mat, I'll show you what an upgrade is. But there's 6 upgrades that you can do during the course of the game for your faction, and if you do all 6 of them, you get a star for that. If you deploy all 4 of your mechs, you get a star for that. If you build all 4 of your structures, you get a star. If you enlist all 4 of your recruits, you get a star. Again, that'll make more sense when we get to the player mat. If you deploy all 8 of your workers, so right now I have 2 workers out. If I can build that up to 8, first of all, not only can I produce a lot at once, I also get a star for that. The little bird with an envelope And the thing, that's your secret objective. You can get a star for completing one of those two objectives. The two crossed rifle symbols, those represent winning a combat. So if you win a combat, you get a star, and you can do that star twice. So those are important. 18 popularity, I mentioned. If you get your popularity to 18, you get a star, or if you get your power to 16. Power track is over here, and that's where it looks like these little centipedes. I suppose they're supposed to look like eagles. Maybe those are feathers, but I like to call them centipedes. I don't know why. Probably weird. It's not enough. Clearly not enough legs to be centipedes, but hey. Still haven't figured it out, Armando? It's okay. Don't worry. This is your power track. Power and combat cards, which we'll get to shortly, are key elements of fighting. So when you go into a fight, you will use power. You will set how much power you're willing to sacrifice in that fight, and you can use a combat card. You do this secretly. Whoever reveals the most power plus combat card wins the fight. You can only play one, but the bonus for having two or more mechs in a fight, or your characters can fight as well, is that you get to play more combat cards. But whatever combat cards and power you use in a fight, you lose. So it's very expensive to fight. So my goal in this game, we're talking about stars. Let me tell you what I'm going to go for, because I said it's good to have an idea at the beginning of the game what stars you're going to go for. I'm going to go for the 4 enlist actions to get my 4 recruits. Recruits are amazing. Really, really strong. The 8 workers. My secret objective. 2 combat stars. What can I say? And the 16 power. Since power is useful in combat, Armando, I'm giving you a hint, because every time I ask you about it, I'm holding up this cup. Do you hear the drum? Do you see the mug, Armando? Do you have your video turned on? Is this working? Does anybody else understand why I keep telling Armando that there's an Easter egg in the... There you go. Thank you. Gabriel got me this cup because he's a star in our Actroki series, and so he gave me an Actroki cup with his picture on it. So, yes, you have my mug. I have your mug on my mug. Yes. Thank you. It's a lovely cup. I don't think I've ever used it on Gen Con TV because the mug is in my home and I stream Gen Con TV from our guest condo. Anyway, enough of that silliness. Okay, where was I? Oh, I was explaining what those are the 6 stars I'm going to go for. Since to get the power star, I have to get my power to 16, but I use power in combat. I really am going to try to avoid a fight. I'm certainly going to avoid trying to win a fight until I've got my power star. Once I get my power star, then I can go and, blow all my power on fights. It doesn't matter if I lose all my power later. But I need at one point to claim the star to get to 6. You're mugging the camera. Yeah, you would. Okay, I have no idea where I'm at versus my notes. I'm going to look at my notes again and see where I'm at. Okay, we've talked about tokens. Yes. Yes, let's talk about the board. Good idea. Okay, so we did talk about how there are home bases and there are hexes, but each hex is a type that produces a specific type of resource, and there's a little icon on the hex to help you out. So if you look at my setup here, and I'm sorry the mouse is so hard to see, but I'll try to also kind of verbally tell you where I'm looking at on the map and zoom in on it. Okay, so just the 2 hexes that I have my workers in, one of them, the one on the right, is Tundra, and you can see the icon looks like an oil can. So Tundra produces oil. Most of the tiles produce a certain type of resource. Tundra produces oil. Just to the left of that, I have a worker in the forest. Forests produce wood. And just between them and to the south of it, there's a mountain tile. I don't have a worker there yet, but it produces metal. And just to the right of that is a field, and the fields produce grain. And just above that to the right, just to the right of my Tundra tile, is a village. Villages produce more workers. So let's see, is that all of them? I think so. There's also lake tiles, which look like big lakes. They don't produce anything, but they're still tiles anyway. And what else is going on here? The phone is ringing in the background. Sorry about that, if you can hear it. There are also rivers on the map. The rivers are impassable unless you have a rule that explains how you can cross the river. In other words, the default is you can't cross the river. So I am kind of stuck on this home base area until that happens. Polania, you notice that each of the home bases that we're using, so the 5 factions that we're using, are kind of stuck on a peninsula that is surrounded by lakes and rivers, and so we can't fight each other at the beginning. Now you notice the 2 factions we're not using, which came from the expansion, Explorers from Afar, I think, or something, Albion and Tagawa. Somehow I don't think Tagawa is an Eastern European. Yeah, you're right. That's why they're called Explorers from Afar. They are not trapped, but they're kind of off in a corner a bit, so it kind of amounts to a similar sort of obstacle that everybody's kind of stuck in the corners a little bit. Now, one of the exceptions you might remember from when I reviewed what the Nordic faction can do, one of the exceptions right off the bat is my workers can't cross a river. So that is the advantage of the Nordic faction, is that while I can't support those workers with anything that can fight, I can send workers out onto the board and go out and theoretically have a wider range of access of resources that I can get in the early game. So there's also what's called the factory. It's a hex right in the middle of the board, and it's got its own unique tile that looks kind of like a factory. It doesn't produce resources, but when you arrive there with your character, not with a mech or a worker, but with your character, when you arrive there for the first time, you get a free action card. And the action cards work very much like what's on your player mat. Does that mean this is a segue? I'm going to look at my notes again. This seems like a segue to talk about... Oh, wait. Almost ready to talk about the player map. Units of opposing forces cannot coexist on the map. So if you move into a hex where opposing forces are, you guys will end up fighting, and one faction or the other is going to end up displaced back to their home base. Workers don't fight. Only mechs and characters can fight. So you can't move one of your workers into a hex that's occupied by an opposing mech, because unless you're accompanying a character or mech of your own. Okay, that's what I wanted to explain about that. Okay, and so I mentioned that these tiles generate resources. They generate resources by having workers there. So there's an action called produce that when you take the produce action, your workers, you can pick 2 tiles where you have workers, and those tiles will produce the goods that are native to that particular tile. Okay, so if I were to take the produce action right now, my worker that's on this tundra space would produce an oil. My worker that's on the forest space would produce wood. and I can pick 2 tiles. So if I have 8 workers that are on 8 different hexes, I'm not really utilizing those 8 workers very well because I can only pick 2 of those hexes. However, if you have multiple workers on the same hex or tile and choose that tile, all of those workers produce that thing. So so we're gonna see that in action. So that's important. Okay, so let's talk about the player mat. There's all this menagerie of icons down in the bottom left. Okay, so this is the heart of how you play Scythe, and the mechanic that is so fascinating and at the same time kind of rigid. And I want to do an aside here. One thing I love about Scythe is that because the setup is exactly the same, well, based on your faction and player mat, it's going to be the same every time you have that faction and player mat combination. Your setup's going to be exactly the same because of that, and also because of how structured your options are for play, which is in the player mat, which we're going to talk about here next. You're kind of limited. There's a lot of strategy in the game that you can think about before you even start to play, which is, okay, based on this combination, you can map out in your head. Well, you might be able to map it out in your head. I have to like take a pencil and actually I use a spreadsheet. Yeah, I'm that geeky. I have a spreadsheet called Scythe Game Model where I can load up. I've done almost every combination of factions, and yes, I have. Where I can play around with different combinations of which of these, of what I'm going to do on which turn. I mentioned that as an analogy to chess. While the game doesn't look anything like chess, it's interesting that it can be dissected like chess in terms of what I will call openings. Although it's more than just the opening, it's really a path all the way to victory, but there's variables that are going to happen in the game that are going to screw up that path. So I really think of these as openings. So I love that about this game. It's also, I realize it's not something that everybody's going to want to do because it's pretty damn geeky. But it's like how you wouldn't play chess seriously without understanding openings and having an opening in mind when you go to play, or and revising that depending on what openings your opponent is doing. I think Scythe is the same way, that if you get into this game, you're going to and study it, start to play it, you're going to realize that you need to have a strategy for whatever faction / player mat combination that you're going to play. So I admit it, I'm using a particular opening for this, using Nordic and Patriotic. There's a lot of great sources out on the internet. There's a site called the Daily Scythe, which I happen to really like. It's nicely laid out. It's got a lot of the openings there. I have tweaked this opening to make it better, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but that is what I'm going to do. Okay, so now that I've given my sort of accolades about Scythe and its analogy to chess and having openings, let's explain this player mat. We've dallied long enough. Okay, so this area down here in the bottom left, there are large cells here that have a bunch of stuff in them. If you imagine this as 4 cells wide and 2 cells high, think of this as a grid of 4 cells on the top and 4 cells on the bottom. Okay, if you see that? And these are actions. So when it's your turn, you're going to pick a column here of 2 actions that are possible for you. So let's look at the leftmost column of this to get started. The leftmost column shows 2 guys running on a green background. Anything you see on green is a benefit that you get by selecting that action. Anything you see on a red background is a cost associated with that action. And the action that's on top here with the movement, and there's a coin underneath it, This is called a top row action because it's in the top row, of course. And then the action below is called a bottom row action. So you're picking a pair of, you're picking a column or a pair of top row and bottom row actions that's going to be your turn. So when it's your turn, you pick a column, and that's what you're doing. But it gets a little tricky. You can't choose the column you chose last time. Yeah, so it forces you to jump. It's like, oh, I'm going to move here, move here, move here. No, you can't move. You can do a move action by picking this first column, but the next turn, you're going to have to choose any of the other columns that you want to. Also, you don't have to do both of the actions. In fact, sometimes you won't be able, often you won't be able to do both of the actions. So you can choose, I can choose this left column, which has move and upgrade. And I can choose to do just the move, or I can choose to do just the upgrade, or I could do both. If I do both, I have to do the top one first. Okay, so that's kind of the structure. And when it's your turn, that's what you're going to do. When it's your turn, you're going to pick a column, do either the top row action or the bottom row action, or both, and then it's going to go to the next player, and they're going to do the same thing, and then the next player, and the next player, and the next player. I told you I wouldn't mention exceptions. Elka's 9, I feel like that's where I fall at this game. I don't start making a strategy until turn 3, then it's too late. It's okay. It's okay. I played this game probably 20 or 30 times before I really started to feel like I had a strategy, and that's okay. You've got to go through a period where you're just playing it turn by turn, just to. You got to get a point where all these actions kind of make sense to you and become more intuitive, and this is that muscle of picking those actions and planning ahead. That muscle will get better as you use it, like any muscle. Also bears key point. I mentioned that you choose a player mat separate from your faction. What are the player mat? Well, this is the player mat. What's different about one player mat, like industrial versus patriotic versus innovative, what's different is the order of the top row actions. The bottom row actions are always exactly what you see here in terms of the order. The costs may change, but it's always the leftmost bottom row action is always upgrade, then deploy, then build, and then enlist. But the order of the top row actions will change. And so that, if you think about it, that's huge because it's changing how these various actions match up, right? So when you're making a plan for what your strategy is going to be, you're looking at this whole thing and you're prioritizing, well, I really want to do a lot of move, I want to do a lot of produce. Like looking at this player board, if I want to do a lot of moves and produce, they're paired with certain bottom row actions. And so that is at the heart of coming up with a strategy for this game, is figuring out what sequence of columns to choose to pair up things that you want to get done, and picking which stars you're going to optimize how that all lines up. And it is a mine F-bomb. Mark Chalice, hey Peter, saw your Facebook message. I hopped over here to follow your stream. Thank you. I'm glad my Facebook post. Welcome. So this is all casual, me explaining strategy games and going slow. I'm not trying to teach you in 20 minutes. We're just hanging out. We're chatting, and I'm just telling you what I think of this game. Okay, so let's go through and look at this player mat and see what they do. Now that you understand what the structure is of choosing these. Okay, right off the bat with this leftmost top row action, which is called the move action, note that there's actually two options. One is picking the move. You see how you kind of see how there's two pulsing bluish shaded rectangles stacked. In a lot of these cases, in 3 of these 4 top row actions, you actually, as soon as you choose that action, you have to choose which of the 2 variants of that action you want to. So when I take the move action, I can either choose to move units or I can choose to get coins. And specifically, so you see the icon, the green icon with the black man, the black outline of a figure running. Because there's 2 of them, that means I can move 2 units. So that could be 2 workers, it could be a worker and a character. Note that your mechs, once we get them, can carry workers. And so it's possible to use a mech to move a whole bunch of pieces at once if all the other pieces are workers. And the movement portion that the mech moves the workers doesn't account. You could, once you get somewhere, you can move the worker again as the second unit if you wanted to, or move a worker to where the mech is as your first move, and then your second move take the mech and that worker and maybe the other workers over there and go charging off somewhere else. So there's more mobility there than meets the eye once you have mechs. Okay, so you'll notice that there is a square that's shaded out here. You can just kind of barely see, and there's a gear over it. That means that the upgrade action, which we're going to talk about next, can improve this. So the bottom row action associated with move on this particular playmat is what's called upgrade. And the upgrade action has a cost. Remember I mentioned that if there's something with a red background, that is a cost to do the action, okay? So in this case, it costs 2 oil to do an upgrade. What is an upgrade? An upgrade allows you to pick one of your top row actions and improve how good it is. Like changing it from being able to move 2 units to being able to move 3 units, which is significant. And I'm going to do that in this game because that's really powerful for later going after combat stars, to be able to move 3 mechs into a hex and attack as opposed to just 2. Also, when you do an upgrade, the same upgrade action, in addition to improving one of your top row actions, you have to lower the cost of one of your bottom row actions. Again, the places where it has a gear shift. So we haven't explained what these ones over here to the right, but you can see all these gear shifts that are sitting on top of costs. The upgrade can get rid of those costs. Okay, you'll see that in action. It'll become a little clearer. The second top row action here, the second one from the left, shows all the centipedes. Eagles, okay. This is called the bolster action, and you can either bolster your power. This is how you can get your power on this track over here higher, this track on the right. And remember I mentioned that my goal is to get a power star by getting my blue little centipede all the way up to the 16. Or you could choose to draw, you could use the bolster action to draw more combat cards. Paired with bolster is the bottom row action called deploy. This is my favorite action in the game because this is how you get mechs. So the way it is right now, I would have to pay 4 metal and I would gain 1 mech and 3 coins, which is not insignificant because money, remember, coins are victory points at the end of the game. But that's really expensive. So you're going to see me use upgrade actions in this game to lower the cost of mechs. I'm going to do that before I actually start building any mechs. And I'm actually not, you might have noticed that I didn't mention 4 mechs as one of the stars I'm going to shoot for in this game. That is my backup plan with this opening. If this opening would have revealed a objective that was too different, that neither one of the objectives that I have the option of going for were very complementary to my strategy, then my backup plan would be to go for 4 mechs. Or if just something went off the rails in the game and it can't get to the 16 power or what have you. Okay, so that's that. The third column, the top action here, this is also a very good one. It's called trade. The symbol that looks like a pie with 4 different pieces of pie of different colors, that symbol represents any resource of your choice. And so if you take the first option in this trade, you spend a coin and you get any 2 resources you want to. So again, that can be wood, that can be metal, that can be food. It's the things that are the costs for these bottom row actions. By the way, something I didn't mention, is that when your workers produce resources, you know, most games you get the resource and you put them over by yourself in front of you, like in a little tray or whatever, you know. No. It's Scythe. It's cruel. The resources, when you produce, they show up on the map where you produce them. So if this worker produces an oil, then all of a sudden there's an oil can sitting there. It's mine only as long as I can control in controlling that. So somebody can pop in there and take that oil from me. Or I like to say it, I can pop in somewhere else and take their oil from them. Yeah. So resources are on the map. You can move them. Anybody can carry workers, hero, mechs, any of your other units can carry resources with them, as many as they want to. So there's, you know, not much of an excuse for losing resources. You either, you know, as long as you properly tend them, you should be okay. Okay, so the other option in trade is you could also spend a coin and gain a point of popularity, or 2 if you've used an upgrade to improve that action. The bottom row action that's in column 3, spend 4 wood and build a structure. There are, I think structures are just like the one thing I'm not going to explain in today's game because I'm not going to build any. So, but basically the structures are all things that help you in some way that you can place out on the map. And if I play this game a third time, I will definitely pick a faction player mat combo, probably Polania and something, because this got good access to this. I mean, I've got good access to forest here too. There's probably a good Nordic opening that uses the build structures, but that's not what I chose. So maybe we'll have to play this again one more time, just with something with structures, just so you can see it. But you will see the other AIs build structures. Okay, last but not least, the rightmost column, the top one, the top row action in the rightmost column is called produce, and it's the whole cell. What happens is that you see the 2 green hammers. That signifies that you pick 2 tiles where you have workers and you have them produce. And you can see that there's an option for getting a 3rd tile here by spending the upgrade. That is also going to happen. I mentioned that you have a possibility of 8 total workers. I have 2 workers to begin with, and you can see that there are like 6 little white silhouettes of workers down here. Imagine that if I build more workers, that they're being pulled from this area and placed on the board. And as they do so, it's going to reveal costs that are going to light up. You'll see that happen as well. So at first, you can use produce willy-nilly. There's no cost to doing it. I mean, you're using the real cost, which is devoting a top row action to doing it. But eventually, as I build more workers, it's going to cost power, and then power and popularity, and then power, popularity, and coin. By the time you have 8 workers on the map, it costs you, to use the produce function, costs you a power, a popularity, and a coin to produce once. But you will be picking 2 or maybe 3 tiles and producing a lot of stuff. So last but definitely not least, my other favorite bottom row action is called enlist. The enlist action, this one's a little tricky, so bear with me. The enlist action allows you to enlist a recruit. Now the recruits on this digital version aren't represented by any token or anything like that. It's a little abstract. They will light up a spot on your player map. And so when I spend 3 food to use the enlist action, I get a recruit. In the board game, you'd have a token and you would take it and you'd place it on your map. What'll happen is I will pick one of these 4 bottom row actions and place the recruit, assign the recruit, whatever, to that bottom row action. And it might be, I can enlist the recruit for the enlist action. It's a little bit of a mouthful. It's like, okay, that's one of those things where you think about slightly faster than your mouth is going, so you get it right. But also the build action, the deploy action, and the upgrade action. When I have done that, when I have a recruit that has been assigned to one of these actions, whenever I do that action again in the future, I get an extra bonus reward. That depends on where that recruit is. So in the enlist action here, in the rightmost bottom row action here, if I enlist the recruit for the enlist action, every time in the future when I use the enlist action, I'm going to get a combat card. Cool. If I enlist a recruit for, let's say, the deploy action, then every time I use a deploy to build a mech, I get a coin. They're shaded out, so maybe you can't really see, but that in that deploy action, that is where it's at. That is a coin that you might see there, if you can see my mouse, which is really hard to see, but I'm wiggling it. You can kind of see it. Better yet, it gets better. If I've got the back to the enlist, if I got the recruit in the enlist action, it gets me a combat card every time I use the enlist action. It also works if either of the factions that are adjacent to me on the map, meaning by their home base is adjacent to my home base, which in this case is Rusviet over here on the right, and Polania, which is over here on the left. If either one of those factions in their turn use the bottom row action, enlist, I also get a combat card. So you can see that by the, it's great to get all 4 of these recruits enlisted, do all 4 of these actions, and because then anytime either one of my neighbors does any bottom row action, I'm going to get some sort of prize. So that's just fun. That's just great. That feels like engine building, that speaks to the heart of us board gamers. All right, let me see. I think we're about ready to begin. Let's see. I've talked about resources being on the map, combat, stars. Okay, the only thing on my list that I haven't covered, I'm sure there's stuff I missed, but is faction and mech abilities. I kind of talked about faction abilities. Let me show you again mine. I have the faction ability Swim. Every faction has a faction ability. I'm going to go through all of them except as they come up. Also, though, your mechs, as you build them, have abilities. Okay, so here's a list of my mechs. You see none of them are highlighted because none of them exist yet. But there's a mech that gives you the ability that will give me the ability if I build it, called Riverwalk, which allows my mechs and my character. But by the way, these mech abilities, when you build, say, the Riverwalk mech or the Speed mech or whatever, the ability that it unlocks applies not just to that mech, but all your other mechs and characters that you already have or will buy in the future. So you don't. So it's misleading to say, well, I'm going to get the Speed mech. That is, by the way, the first mech I'm going to get. The Speed mech, it's the mech that gives the speed ability to that mech and your character and everything. It's not like you have to keep track of which mechs have which abilities, okay? You just have to keep track of which abilities that you've got based on, because each mech that you deploy only gives you one of these. You won't have all of these abilities until you've deployed all 4 of your mechs. And when you get to that point, then all 4 of your mechs and your character have all 4 of these abilities. And there are some common threads. I think every faction has a speed mech. Speed, which means that instead of being able to just move 1 tile, you can move 2. Not how many units, but so if you have a speed mech, you could move 2 mechs, because the move function lets you move 2 units. You can move 2 mechs or mech and a character, 2 spaces each with the speed bonus. Okay, so that's that. Now that I've explained the player mat, I can go back and explain a little bit more clearly what the factory does. If you move your character to the factory, you basically get another slot on your player mat, which will be a card. If you're playing the board game, there will be a bunch of cards stacked there, and you go there and you drop. You look at the cards, you actually get to pick which one you want to take. So whoever gets there first gets more options because it's a limited supply. That pile will. There's a larger deck, but that pile that is that initiates the game during setup will be equal to the number of players plus 1. So in this case, whoever gets to the factory first will have 6 cards because it's a 5-player game, and we'll pick one of those 6 cards, and it will permanently sit here as another combination of top row action and bottom row action, that you have going forward. Phew. Any questions? Get it? Got it? Good. All right, we'll go on. Well, I think that we are about, let's go ahead and start. It is my turn. Polania already moved. By the way, there is a little thing on the left that shows what a historical record of the actions taken so far this game. And you can see there's a Q at the very top. Polania. You can also tell it's Polania because it has a white border, and Polania is kind of white, I guess. And the symbol for produce. So Polania did the produce action, and its worker in the forest created a wood. You can see the point of wood there. And its worker in the farm created a food. I wanted to say a tractor. I knew that wasn't right. Okay, so now it's my turn. So my first action is, what I want to do is, ultimately, I want to get all of my recruits and all of my workers. So I'm also going to want to get some mechs. I'm going to also want to use upgrade a few times to make those other things more economical. The only star I'm trying to get in what I've just listed is the star achievement for recruits. I do intend to build all 4 of the recruits, and I do intend to build all 8 workers. But I'm going to use upgrades to make those actions that do that a little faster, a little more effective. And I am going to build a couple of mechs, but I'm not going to build all of them unless something goes wrong, which can happen, totally can happen. Yeah. Okay, so I am going to start with the trade action to get some food, to get some oil. So next time I'm going to do a move to get these workers in the first 2 spots I really want them in. I don't really want to produce any wood, so I don't want to do a produce right off the bat because I'd be producing something that I don't want. So I'm already thinking, hey, okay, I'm going to want to move these workers where I want them. With that move is going to come an upgrade. Let's do a trade first, get 2 oil, so that when I do that, I can get one of those upgrades. So I'm going to start with a trade. Okay, so I'm going to pick this, not down here. If I choose the lower, within this top row action of trade, I have 2 options. One is to get 2 resources of my choice. The other is to gain popularity. I don't care about popularity for this particular strategy. Other than, I want to always have at least 1 popularity, because eventually it gives you options. And like, once I have all my workers out there, I can't use the produce without spending a popularity. Can't spend it if we don't have it. So I do care a little bit about popularity, but I'm not going to be trying to get my popularity up into the 2nd tier or 3rd tier, God forbid. Okay, so what did I say I wanted? I want oil. Okay, now you see that thing that popped up. You have to pick where the oil is going to appear. If you're using produce, it appears where the workers are. If you're using trade, you get to pick which worker or combination of workers get that resource. So I chose to have both of them show up here. It's because I know I'm going to be vacating this spot soon. And but you can move them, so it doesn't really matter that much oftentimes. Okay, that's all I can do. I chose this 3rd column of bottom and top row actions combined, but I can't and don't want to build any structures. Doesn't fit this particular strategy. That's it. That's all I did in my turn is I did a trade for 2 oil. Now Roosevelt is doing a produce, Crimea does a produce, Saxony is doing a trade, Polania is doing a trade. It's back to my turn. I'm going to slow that. That felt a little fast. Okay, I'm going to see if I can slow that down a little bit in terms of the animation. Okay, 2nd action. Now, like I said, I'm going to do a move to move these workers to where I want to. So this worker I'm going to move to this tundra. And the one in the tundra, I'm going to move over to this, the other one, over to this village. So now I have my workers on tundra, which will give me oil, because I do have a couple upgrades I want to do. But really, I need to get cranking on having workers produce more workers, because obviously, if all the workers in a tile can produce, the more workers that are there, the more you're going to produce. So in terms of, all of you played board games before and building engines and ramping up, like so common in board gaming themes, it's you want to get that, you want to get the spigot turned on, right? Okay, so I've done the move. I've used my Nordic faction ability to move a worker across the river. Woo! And now for a bottom row action, I can do a bottom row action. I can spend 2 oil. I've got 2 oil. It's sitting right here, so I'm going to spend 2 oil. It's kind of lighting up this hex. It's reminding me that that's one of the places I have oil, but I can see it right there. If I just click on these cans of oil, they disappear. Once I've paid, so now I've paid the cost of the bottom row action. Now I get the benefit. So now, okay, what is this mess? Okay, what it's done is it's taken that player mat and made it a little bit bigger for me so I can see what's going on. The places that are kind of gold, yellow, highlighted, airbrushed, that are all in the top row action right now, those are the places. Remember, I get to improve a top row action and lower the cost of a bottom row action. So it's having me do the top row action first. So I'm going to pick one of these places to improve, and I'm going to choose move. So I'm going to make it so that in the future, when I choose the move action, I get to move 3 units instead of just 2. And that's going to be really helpful in putting things where I want. I also want to, as I mentioned, ultimately use the enlist action 4 times to recruit all 4 of my recruits, or to enlist all 4 of my recruits. Anyway, one of those. So by clicking this lit up food in the bottom right, in the rightmost bottom row action, by clicking that, the cost now, you see the cost now is now 2 food to use the enlist action instead of 3. Okay, so yeah, I'm on my way to making the improvements that I want to make in terms of my infrastructure for the future. Okay, so now I'm gonna end this turn. Okay, Roosevelt is doing a produce. Crimea is doing a trade. Yeah, I did manage to slow it down just a little bit. It's easier to follow. Saxony is moving its mech out and doing an upgrade to make it so they can move 3 units instead of 2 and deploy mechs for cheaper. Polania is doing a move, and looks like they're... Oh, see, the worker picked up a resource and then moved and dropped it off again. And it's spinning to build a structure. Okay, so he just built a mine, which reminds me of something on the map that I didn't explain. I did this last time too, like it's an afterthought, but it's actually really, really important. Looking at this map, there is a ring of tiles, every other tile sort of 2 hexes out from the factory, that has a tunnel symbol. You see the red, if you look at where the factory is and go up 2 hexes, in that tundra there's a tunnel, and there's another one over here, etc. Just go around the clock. The tunnels are all connected, so with 1 movement point you can move. If you're sitting on a tunnel, you can move to any other tunnel spot on the map with 1 movement point. So it makes these tunnel spots very strategic, because especially once you have the speed mech. So let's say, going back to this tundra in the north here, if I have 3 mechs there, and one of them is the speed mech that gives my movement, increases my movement from 1 to 2, and another mech is, and I've done the upgrade so that I can move 3 units. Those 3 mechs that are sitting there, I could use the move action to move all 3 of them, and at the same time attack any of these other tunnel spots. Oh, would I ever do that? If the tunnel spot is empty, I could move another movement point and hit the spots next to it that I can move over, that I can move to. When I say that I can move to, remember, you can't cross the river unless you have a mech ability that lets you cross the river, or a faction ability that lets you cross the river. Okay, so Oh, and then so what Polania just built was a tunnel, effectively their own personal private tunnel, right here in their home base area. And so they can go from that spot to any of these tunnels. I don't think, or back. I don't think that we can use it though. I don't think that we can use that as a way to attack their peninsula. I'm pretty sure we can't. We'll see. Well, we won't see. We just won't. Anyway. Okay. It's my turn again. It's round 3. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the the trade action again, only this time I'm going to produce food, so that next time I can use the produce action, and I'll have the food to use an enlist action. Okay, so let's see here. Yep, there we go. Trade. I kind of went over this fast last time. I didn't specify, but you see these things pop up and say, oh, which items do you want to get? I get 2 free resources of my choice. That's what these 4 boxes are, the 4 choices I have. But it's also, where do you want those resources to land? Because remember, your resources have to be on the map. Well, I'm a little worried about Roosevelt coming over and messing with me here in this area. So I'm going to build them over here. It's a little closer to my home base. It's safer. Your resources don't, while they have to be on the map, they don't have to be in the place where they're going to get used. So when you have to spend resources to do something, they can be anywhere on the map as long as you control that tile. So I'm going to put them here. It's a little bit easier to control. That's my top row action. The bottom row action would have to be a build action where I spend wood to build a structure. I don't have any wood. I don't want to build any structures, so I'm done. All right, Roosevelt is moving some workers out onto the oil. Crimea is producing. Saxony is trading. And Polania is also trading. I don't think any of them took bottom row actions that round. So you see, a lot of the time you're only taking the bottom or the top row action, especially in the early game. And part of the strategy is to get where you're really efficient at picking a column where the top row action and the bottom row action at that moment are both effective for you and both support your strategy. But I don't care how good you are, you're not going to be able to do that all the time, which is fun. I mean, it would suck if it wasn't that way. Okay. Let's see. Round 4. I am going to produce and enlist. Okay, I'm going to get my first enlistment here. Okay, so now I have my workers where I want them. I'm going to do a produce. I can only produce in 2 spots, but that's okay. I only have workers in 2 spots. The 1 worker in the village is going to produce 1 more worker. Boom, there it is. The 1 worker in the tundra is going to produce 1 oil. Boom, there it is. But because of the trade action last turn, I have 2 food, which happens to be the cost of the bottom row action that's associated with produce, which is enlist. So I'm going to pick that, pay the 2 food, and now I'm going to enlist. I pick a spot where I want to enlist, and there's kind of 2 conflicting goals here. On one level, there's a strong argument to be made for picking the enlist spot because I know I'm going to come back there 3 more times, and I also need combat cards. So picking the spots that you know you're going to come back to a lot are important. But it's also, there's another thing that kind of trumps that in this particular scenario, which is that I'm going to go for the power star, which requires me getting my power to 16. Right now my power is 4. That's a long way for that centipede to crawl. So I'm going to enlist a recruit for the upgrade spot so that even though I know I'm not going to use it that many more times, I am going to use it 2 more times. So that's good. Also, though, every time Roosevelt or Polania do an upgrade, I'm going to get a power. So I want to get that little engine, tiny little lawnmower engine, going as soon as possible so that I don't have to use the bolster action to kind of do it manually any more than I have to. So choose upgrade. Okay, so I mentioned before that when you choose the enlist action, you choose one of those 4 places to put a recruit. I didn't mention that there's a second little benefit, but it adds up. It's actually pretty good little benefit, where it's just you pick one of these rewards, either 2 coins, or 2 popularity, or 2 power, or 2 combat cards. I'm going to get all these rewards eventually if I'm successful at building all the recruits, because once I pick one, I can't come back to that same one. I'm going to take the 2 combat cards. You'll see next time we do this, I'll only have the other 3 choices. But right now, I only have 1 combat card, and if I do end up in a fight, I'm going to want to have some combat cards as options. So I'm going to hit accept. Boom. So I got 2 coins and 2 combat cards. Recall that this bottom row action, not only, if you look at the icons in this action I just took, the rightmost bottom row action, there's the symbol for the recruit, but there's also 2 coins. So a lot of these bottom row actions give you coins in addition to what you're doing. Let's see. Hi, Marcus. It looks like Marcus is back with us. Hey, Marcus. Gen Con TV is his nickname. Never figure out who that is. So you see, by the way, over here to the bottom right, just left of where the end turn button is, here are my combat cards. You see that big, kind of obnoxious colored red 2 on a yellow background. That means a combat card with a value of 2. And the number to the left of this is how many of them I have. So I have 1 combat card with a value of 2. I have 1 combat card with a value of 3. I have 1 combat card with a value of 4. And 5s, of course, are the best and the rarest. Okay. I did my complete move, and I'm going to hit end turn. And okay, so Roosevelt is doing another move, moving more workers out onto the oil fields in the tundra. Crimea is doing a trade for more oil, and now it's doing its corresponding upgrade and making it so it can move faster. Here we go. Saxony is doing a produce, and Polania is doing a produce. And it's back to me. Okay, I need to take a quick little bio break. So I'm going to see if I can do the be right back. We're back. Hey, coming back from break, it's a good reminder of like to thank our sponsors. Actually, we don't have any sponsors, but we have a fantastic team of people. I mean, you're just seeing me, but there's a whole group of people that are rooting me on. And Steve Conard here is in the chat. Steve does our animations, and Steve and I have been we've worked together in every company I've ever run. So we go way back. He also is our vice president of intellectual property and all of our Chaldea stuff, and manages that, our website and everything else. So we have Marcus Mays with us, who just joined us as Gen Con TV. We call him God King Marcus. He is a producer for 2 of our shows here on Gen Con TV, Table Takes, which is on Fridays at 2 p.m., and Table Takes Game Night, which is right afterwards. We also have Tanil Lovett, who is on vacation this month in France. Obviously, that's pretty cool. Really happy for her that she's in France. We miss her terribly, but good on you, girl, going to France. She's responsible for the whole visual look of the show, all the overlays, all the thumbnails. If you've noticed how beautiful our channel looks, that's her fault. We also have our social media princess, Sarah Moore, who is helps me get the word out to all of our Chaldea and social media, and also sends stuff through the pipeline to Danny Kennedy, who works at Gen Con Corporate. Danny and Sarah are social media stars for our efforts here. And who did I miss? I'm not sure. Oh, also Sarah produces a show on Gen Con TV also called Sarah's Table, just Friday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time, which is where she brings as much joy as possible to the experience of role-playing. So yes, anyway. Okay, we are back at it. It is my turn. Okay, this is going to look familiar. I'm going to do another trade action for more food, because I can't use, I really want to do is just produce, but I can't do the produce twice in a row. So I'm going to do a trade action to manually get 2 food, so that next turn when I do a produce action, I can combine it with the enlist. See, that's how that opening works. Okay, Roosevelt doing a deploy, building a mech. So I think that's the first mech of the game. Is that right? Unless I missed one. Crimea is doing a move, and it can't really predict what they'll combine that with, because everybody has a different player mat. Now, if I was a really good player, I would have committed to memory all the different combinations. Everybody's I'm not that smart. I can't do that. At a game table, you can look around and easily see what everybody's player mats are, but I gotta admit, that's advanced level play where you can be like watching. When I play SCYTHE, I'm spending the whole time just trying to get the head around what I'm doing and what I'm supposed to do next, and thinking, and I'm only vaguely aware of what everybody else is doing, except to the point of how their moves will impact my ability to move. And I'll tell you what may or may not happen in this game is that there's a little bit of a race to this spot here, this forest tunnel spot that's just 3 hexes southeast of my home base, because it's right across the river from Roosevelt, and sometimes Roosevelt will come in there and beat me to that spot. I'd really like to get that spot. Also, since all the tunnel spots are adjacent, and because Polania has a tunnel in their home base area, anybody can move into there pretty easily by using the tunnel system. So I'll definitely be watching that. Okay, blah blah blah. Let me do my turn. Okay, so I am going to do another produce and enlist combo. So I'm going to hit produce, and I'm going to produce more oil. That gives me 2 oil. You can probably see that maybe I'm going to do an upgrade, a move. That gives me 2 oil, so the next time I do a move and combine it with the upgrade, I have the oil to do the upgrade. Okay? I'm going to produce in the village. Now I had 2 workers in the village. Now I have 4 workers, because each of the workers in the hex produce whatever that whatever the thing is that tile produces. So now I have 4 workers in the village, 1 worker over on the tundra, and it's time to do another enlist. So I'm going to pay with 2 food, do my second enlist. Okay, so a reminder, when you do the enlist, you get two benefits. One is you get to put a recruit on one of the places that you haven't put one already. So I put a recruit on the upgrade action. You can see that the little shield under the centipede or eagle, whatever, is glowing kinda. So that means that that's the recruit, is that little glowing shield. That recruit is there. Okay, so I'm going to see which one I want to do next. I am going to go ahead and I know I'm coming back to the enlist action 2 more times, so it's compelling to put it there, but I'm going to go for the gold. Coins are victory points, and the my 2 neighbors, Polania and Roosevelt, are likely to deploy lots of mechs, and I want to get a victory point every time they do that. So I'm going to put a recruit here in the deploy action. The second benefit is from these, well, 2 things. I took combat cards last time, so that's off the table. Each of these are a one-time award. There's nothing strategic about this. It's just like, hey, you get a little benefit. So I'm going to take the 2 points of power. Since I'm going to get all of these, it's just kind of the order. What I'm going to have plenty of money. I'm not going to need money until the end. Popularity, as long as I don't dip down too close to 0. I'm at 2. I think I'm going to go ahead and take the popularity just to make sure that I don't run out of popularity, because if I run out of popularity, once I have all my workers in belt deployed, whatever, I can't produce, because it costs a point of popularity to use to produce once you have all your workers deployed. Okay, so I'm going to accept that. Okay, I gained 2 coins, 2 popularity. So you see my popularity up on the top. I don't know if you noticed, there's this horizontal bar at the top, which I can actually make wider. I should just go ahead and do that now. That lists a whole bunch of key stats. Like it lists how much coins I have, what my popularity is, my power. The popularity and power also are on this track. You can see that my little blue centipede is up to 4 now, and my little blue heart is up to 4. It's more like a black heart in this game. I say that with love. Okay, where am I? Blah 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 blah. That's what it is. It's supposed to do. It's like sit here and teach you the game and chat, right? We're hanging out. Anybody got anything you want to say? You can say hi in chat. Okay, I think I did. Oh yeah, I did the enlist. Okay, yes, I did finish my turn. Okay, so now it is time for Roosevelt is doing a trade and an upgrade. Oh, so anybody know what happens when Roosevelt does an upgrade? Remember? Why did I put the recruit on upgrade? I get a power. So now my power has gone up. See? Okay, here's a trade for Crimea. And Saxony doesn't produce. I don't care what bottom row actions they use because they're not adjacent to me. I mean, I care, but not that much. And and Polania does a deploy, which gives me a coin because I put that recruit on the deploy action. See, here it comes. Woo! There we go. Nice. That's just good, clean fun. Okay, turn 7 here. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna start moving this turn. Partly because I want to get to where, now that I can take some workers off the village. I do want to get to 8 workers, but I don't have to have all my workers there. I can put some workers somewhere else, and so that I can start producing the food I need for my enlist, as opposed to dipping back to the trade action. In fact, I think I probably will not do the trade action again. Yeah. Okay. So let's think about this for a second. Okay. I'm going to take the move action, and I'm going to move 2 of these guys down to the fields just southwest, and I'm going to move 1 over to the tundra. Okay, so now you see, look at where my workers are now. 2 workers on the tundra means that I produce 2 oil at a time, which is what the upgrade costs. So that's efficient. 2 workers on the field, mean I'm producing 2 food at a time, which is what the enlist function needs. The 1 worker will produce another worker, and then in the next time I do a produce. The time I do a produce after that, those 2 workers will produce 2 more, and at that point I will be at 8 workers and we'll get my worker star. Okay. Okay, so now that I have a really nice deployment of workers right now, and I'm going to use that recruit. And wouldn't it be nice if next time I produce, if I could produce on all 3 of these tiles? Yeah, that would be nice. So let's improve the produce top row action here down on the right. Okay, I improve the produce action. Also with an upgrade, I get to lower the cost of one of my bottom row actions, and I'm going to choose deploy. Finally starting to think about the mechs that are on the horizon, about ready to crest the ridgeline. Yeah, okay, so I'm lower the cost of producing a mech. And that's it for round 7. Okay, round 8, or SCYTHE, round 7, I guess. Does a trade, no bottom row action, darn. Crimea is doing produce an enlist. Okay, see, it also recognizes. By the way, Crimea is my favorite faction to play. I love Crimea. They have 2 amazing abilities. Their faction ability allows them to use a combat card as a resource, which can hugely accelerate your early growth as you're engine building your way up into power. The other ability they have is really great. It's associated with one of their mechs. It's called Polania's moving out. They use their tunnel to move. Oh, they're using tunnels all over the place. Oh, they're moving again. Okay. Hi, guys. Hi. Hello. And they built a windmill over there. The windmill structure allows that when they use a produce action, the windmill causes that tile to produce in addition to the other tiles you choose. So it basically adds 1 production tile whenever you do produce. All right, so now it is back to me, and it is round 8. Okay, I'm going to produce, and I'm going to go back to produce. I'm really trying to produce as often as possible, but I'm going to do it every other round. Okay, so I do a produce. You see, by the way, that enough workers have been deployed that there is a power cost every time I do a produce. Which really sucks because I'm trying to get my power up to 16. You see, I'm not getting up there very quickly. Give me time, it'll start getting a little better. And now I can produce in 3 tiles because I used the upgrade to improve my produce action last turn, and now I'm using it. Wasn't that timely? Okay, so I produce another worker. I'm producing 2 oil. Remember, when you choose a tile to produce, all the workers there get to produce. And here you're really starting to see some production. Like in that production, 2 food, 2 oil, and a worker in 3 different tiles. That's really cool, but it cost me a power to do that. And now you see that in the produce top row action, the popularity has been revealed. So now whenever I use produce, it also costs me popularity. I think I misspoke earlier. I said when all 8 workers are deployed. Actually, you only have to get to 6 workers for there to be a popularity cost when you use produce. Once all 8 are built, then it also costs me a coin. Okay, so now I'm going to use enlist to. I spent the 2 food. Now I get to enlist. I am finally going to use the enlist. I'm actually now finally going to enlist a recruit for the enlist action. So every time in the future when I take enlist, which is only going to be 1 more time, but also every time SCYTHE or Polania use enlist, I will get a combat card. And I'm going to grab the 2 power. I only need the 2 points. They're just victory points at this point, which is good. I'll want them eventually, but I don't need them now. Okay, so my power is up to 7 now. A little bit better. And, almost halfway to our goal. By the way, you'll notice that the 7 is circled on this power track. That's a reminder, when you're in combat, you spend power, the most power you can spend on a single combat is 7 points. So that's kind of a reminder that you can't get too wacky. Okay, I have gotten my... I finished my turn. Okay, so now it's turn 8. Okay, Roosevelt has moved, encounter, and enlist. So I get another combat card. Woohoo! Crimea is... and I both got combat cards from that. It also had a recruitment in the enlist bottom row action. Okay, so now Crimea is doing an upgrade. Saxony is doing a move. Oh, mech's on the move. The mech's retreated. Oh, here they come. Here they come. Back. Okay, so very strategically, got a mech on a tunnel square and moved its character over to get the encounter. Oh, I didn't mention that. Okay, so there are these little medallions that you see on the map in places. When the things slow down, I'll show you. Okay, planning to deploy, which means I'm going to get a coin, which is good. So, get a little victory points. Coins are victory points. Use them wisely. Spend them wisely. Okay, there we go. I'm up to 13 coins. Feels pretty good. Okay, so, the medallions. Okay, so if you look 2 hexes south, directly south of my home base in the mountains where the metal is produced, there's this little medallion there. That's an encounter medallion. Whoever gets to that spot first with a character, not a mech or a worker, but with their character miniature, draws from the encounter deck. There's a deck of cards. The board game would be a deck of cards. It's obviously going to be digital. And these encounter cards have 3 options that you get to choose one of the options. And, well, first time they come up, we'll go into more detail. But that's what they are. Okay, so now it is my turn, round 9. Okay, I'm going to move. I can't go back to produce until I do something else. So what I'm going to do is move. You notice that I have the 2 oil from my prior production. That's going to line up nicely with a move, so I can get another upgrade. I think my last upgrade, but it's a very important one. Okay, let's pick move. And we're going to pick these 2 workers on the oil fields. Since I'm now going to get this is going to be the last time I'm going to do an upgrade in this opening, unless something goes wrong. So I'm moving the workers off the oil field into the mountains, off the tundra into the mountains to produce metal, which is what I'm going to need to produce mechs. So slowly but surely lining up the things. One more important piece of lining up the things to produce the mechs is I'm going to spend the 2 oil on an upgrade. So there we're spending 2 oil. Okay, with an upgrade, I get to improve a top row function action. I'm going to improve the bolster action. I haven't used bolster yet, mainly because it's a lot more efficient to use it now that I've upgraded it. Bolster, I pay a coin and gain 3 power. So in terms of my goal of getting my centipede up to the 16, getting the power star, this is a way of sort of hard building, going after power. And it's 50% more effective now that I upgraded it. And I'm going to lower the cost of a bottom row action, which is going to be deploy. So I've now lowered the cost of building mechs from 4 metal down to 2. So I haven't built one yet because I wanted to get the cost down to something efficient. And you notice that I have 2 workers in the mountains that can produce 2 metal. See how this all continues to line up nicely. Okay, that I think that ends my turn. I feel like there's something I was gonna say, but can't remember what it was. So I'm just gonna stand here on the train station depot and wait for that train to come back around. And I'll say when it comes back around, I think of it. All right, there did an enlist, which gives me a combat card. Roosevelt did that. There it comes. Woohoo! Crimea is doing a bolster. to improve its power and deploying a mech. It chose the River Crossing mech. Saxony is doing a produce, and doing an upgrade, which gives me another power, which is good. Thank you. Here it comes. Boom. Okay, my power is up to 9 now. That's getting better. Okay, so now we are back to, okay, it's turn 2, I think, let's see here. Oh wait, how's everybody doing? Everybody's doing good? All right. Okay, I am going to do, yeah, I'm going to go back to build. And this build, I can build at 3 spots. I'm going to get my 7th and 8th workers, and I'm going to enlist the last recruit. So I'm going to get to 2 stars this turn if I build Butterfinger this. Okay, it's going to cost me a power and a heart, which is a little bit of a step back, but well worth it. See all that production. Okay, now I am going to do the enlist, pay the 2 coins. I have no choices to make here. I'm just gonna, it's the last recruit. There's only one place to put it. It's in the build action, which helps with popularity. And to get the 2 coins, accept, gained 4 coins and a combat card that time. So my coins are now up to 18. I'm now at 6 combat cards. And sure enough, I'm the first person on the map with stars. I've got 2 stars. I got a star on the 4 enlists, the recruits, and 8 workers. So, as a review, the other thing I want to do is, oh, I'm glad to think about that. See, the hardest thing about the objectives is forgetting that you have them, because they're not like staring you in the face. Like, what are my objectives? Oh, yeah, the first one, build through structures, I'm not going to do that. Force an opponent's worker to retreat and still have at least 7 power. Okay, this is very much an end of the game. Okay, so it's good to look at your objectives every once in a while. Just to remind yourself, yeah, I got to do that. So the things left to do in this game, as a reminder, the 6 stars I want are the 2 I have, of course. I want to get that objective. I want to get 2 combat cards, and I want to get my power up to 16. Okay, so I have. I'm done with my turn. Yeah, it's telling me in turn. Yeah, okay, fine. Okay, Roosevelt is doing trade. And that's it. No, oh, come on. I gotta do bottom row actions. That's the way I get prizes. Alright, Crimea is doing a upgrade. Saxony is doing a trade. I always get nervous when Saxony doesn't move. They've got a lot of mechs out now. Got 3 mechs and a character. Melania is also doing a deploy, so they're building another mech. And I get a coin for that. So that's cool. Do you see the mug, Armando? All right. Okay, it is back to me, and it's round 11. I am finally going to build a mech this time. Okay, so the mech build is combined with a bolster. So, you see the second column here. Now that I have done my last upgrade and got my bolster to the point where it's really efficient, I'm going to do a bolster, which will increase my power from 8 to 11. Remember, I want to get the bolster star before I go out and get the combat stars, because when I'm in fight, I'm going to be spending power. So I'm going to try to avoid spending any power in a fight by basically not picking one. And if somebody picks on me, I'm going to like throw the match and run away just so that I can get up to there, the 16 power. Okay, so this is real simple. I spend a coin, bam, 3 power, done. Now I'm going to spend 2 metal, and I'm going to build a mech. Okay, so I'm going to build the speed mech, which allows my mech and my hero, all my mechs and my hero, to move 2 hexes instead of 1 when it's their turn. And I'm going to put it back here on this village because I don't need to produce any more workers. In fact, I can't produce any more workers. I have all 8 workers out here. And so mechs can carry workers. So this is going to be an efficient way of getting those workers somewhere else. And by putting the mech there, because it can move to and carry all those workers somewhere. So that's it. I did both the top and row bottom actions. It's hard to keep this straight and talk at the same time. Hard for me to do anything and talk at the same time. So I generally just talk. Yes. Here comes Saxony is doing a bolster up in their power so that they're not easy targets. And an enlist. Okay. Now you see, Crimea had already recruited enlisted a recruit for the enlist action. So when their neighbor Saxony did the enlist action, they also got a combat card. They did an upgrade, so I get their power. Good deal. So my power is gonna centipedes up to 12 now. Okie dokie. Okay, so now it is round 12, starting to get to the end game here. So, thankfully, I mentioned earlier that there would be a race to this tunnel. So, I'm now in a position to go grab that spot, and I'm thankful that nobody has grabbed it first. Although by moving there, decent chance somebody's going to attack me. Okay, so I'm picking the move action. And I don't have any oil, so I'm not going to be able to do an upgrade. That's okay, I've done all the upgrades that I want. Yes, thanks, Paul. Yep, I'm going to go get some. Let's go. I'm not going to pick a fight this round, but I am going to go get this mech up on the tunnel from where it can attack anywhere on the board. Not literally anywhere on the board, but it has a lot of options. At the end of the game, you get points for tiles you control. So once you have... at this point in the game, you start to run out of uses for your workers if you've gone up to 8. First of all, it's really expensive to use a produce action, so you're going to be weary of doing it. I think I'm going to do it maybe one more time. But a worker by themselves can control a tile. Now, like these tiles back here in my rear ranks, if I vacate them, I don't control them anymore. So when I move this mech here, I'm going to load up. By the way, this little there's a little mat here that showed up down in the bottom, a little to the right of center, called transport. You use this. It's not very intuitive in this design, I have to admit, but anything that's on the left side is stuff that's on the ground. Everything that's on the right side is stuff that's on the mech that you have selected. So I can, by clicking on a little worker symbol here on the left, it shows up on the right, and the worker is now on my mech. So I'm going to load up 3 of these workers. I'm going to leave 1 worker there so that this worker that I leave there can continue to hold that tile. And I'm going to move the mech to here. So I'm sitting on the this tunnel spot. And I'm going to move my hero up to her character, up to the spot where the medallion is, so I can get that encounter, which will happen at the end of my move. It'll pop up and give that. And I got one more move. I am going to move a worker over to here to claim that tile. So a good thing to do at this point, when you get a chance, is once you're done utilizing your workers strictly for production, is to do what's called spreads. Drop them wherever you get a chance. Drop them somewhere to grab more terrain. Okay, click to reveal. Okay, so here we go. Okay, this is so fun. I'm glad we're finally doing an encounter. So take a moment to look at the screen if you're not. These encounter cards, more amazing, beautiful art by Jakob. it doesn't explain the art. It just leaves the art to explain itself, and then the options that you can choose kind of fill in the blanks. And so I have 3 options to choose from. One, admire a retired soldier's prized gun. So there's a retired soldier over there. I guess that's a gun maybe that he's holding. If I do that, I gain a combat card and 1 popularity. I don't care that much about the popularity. Don't get me wrong, I would love to get tier 2 popularity, but the problem is that when I go out and start picking fights, very, very high probability that the mechs out on the board are going to have workers with them. By the way, that's a good strategy tip, is as you go into fights, take workers with you, because if you displace somebody else's worker, you lose a popularity point. You lose 1 per worker that you displace. And so by taking workers with you into combat, you increase the cost, if you will, of somebody to attack you, because they're going to lose popularity. Since I know I'm going to try to get 2 more combat stars. I mentioned earlier, by the way, that the AIs on the Scythe Digital are not that great. I'm playing against the hard AIs, and they're not that hard. They don't have all these openings memorized. But one thing that hard AIs do is do that a lot. They take workers out there. So when I was playing this on easy, it was easier to get away with that. And sometimes I could hit tier 2 popularity playing a Warmonger, but not this time. Okay, so I don't really care about the popularity. I do like the idea of having another combat card. Or I can hire the soldier to relive his glory days and pay 2 coins, which is also 2 victory points, to gain 2 power and 2 combat cards. Huh, that sounds pretty good, because remember, I'm trying to get my power. I'm racing to get my power up to 16 so that I can start going into combat, and I'm going to need combat cards. So that is really good. Or I can pay 3 popularity to deploy a mech. That also sounds really good. I'm not planning on building all my mechs. I'd certainly love to build all my mechs, but it just takes time. You can't do everything. The problem is I do... I don't like having 0 popularity, because it means I can't use the produce function, even though I'm not sure I will again. I just don't like getting down to 0 popularity. Low popularity is fine, but I really like the second option. By the way, steal the soldier's mech while he's napping. That was the flavor text. Okay, I'm going to choose the second option. The first 3 times you play Scythe, everybody reads all these aloud, and you pass around the art. Once you know it all, then you don't bother. But it's really nice to see how this art conveys a situation, and what are you going to do? You kind of almost get to role play. What is your reaction to that? Okay, I'm going to take the 2 power and the 2 combat cards at a cost of 2 victory points. Okay, so I finished my move action, and I don't get to do the upgrade because I don't have 2 oil, so I just can't. Since I can't pay the cost, I can't do it. So my turn is over. All right. Bruce Viet doing turn 12. They did an list, so I'm going to get another combat card. And here goes trade. Let's move. Polania. Okay, Polania's got their encounter. And they did an upgrade to improve their production and lower the cost of the lists. And here comes, that was Saxony. Here comes Polania. Polania is doing a deploy, which means another point for me, which is great. And there goes. And I apologize. I need to take a little bio break again. Old man bladder. Sorry. TMI. I will. All right. Thank you for your patience. Back. A little too much Armando. So it is turn 13 and round 13. I didn't put a pin on how many turns I think it would get to that. It's possible this opening to win in or to finish in 15 rounds. I found that tough. I found it's typically 16 for me. So let's see how well we do. See if we got 3 more rounds to see if we can end this game and hopefully win it. Okay, we're gonna do a produce. I think it'll be our last produce. It's expensive, it's power, but you know that spending a power will go down to 13. Next round I do my bolster, I'll get to my 16 star. Okay, so let's do the produce. See, this is why I didn't spend the popularity to get the mech. I wouldn't be able to do a produce this round. Uh-oh. I made a mistake. Did I make a mistake? No, I've got all my lists. I can only do production on 3 of these spots. I have all my recruits, right? Okay, so I don't need... Oh, but I do actually want to use... Okay. I don't need the wood. So, I'll use these 3 spots. Those 3 things. It might not have been a good idea to move a worker off of this farm. Because I do want 2 food. I mean, I couldn't produce the wood. I don't really want the wood, but 3 wood is worth more victory points than 1 food. But that's okay. I'm now gonna... so that's the produce. I mainly did the produce to get the 2 metal that I'm gonna need to do a deploy for another mech. I do need 2 mechs for what I want to do. I am going to do the bottom row action, even though I've done all my recruits. I've enlisted all my recruits. But I can still do the action, even though I have no more recruits to enlist, just to get the 2 coins and the combat card for doing that bottom row action because of the previous recruit that I enlisted. There we go. Okay, so it's giving me a nice little warning. The selected action has already been maxed out. Yeah, okay, I understand. Yes, I want to proceed. So I'm going to produce, thank you. Spend the 2 food just to get the 2 coins. And 2 food for 2 coins is an even trade. But the extra combat card is nice. So now I do, in the realm of combat cards, I'm up to 10 combat cards. 4 2s, 4 3s, and 4 and a 5. Nice. I think that will get me across the finish line. Okay, that's it for round 13. Roosevelt's doing a trade. Crimea's doing a produce and enlist. Crimea has not gotten off of its home territory yet. And it has only 1 mech. Crimea, I don't know. I mean, I would think that a hard AI have done a little bit more than Crimea has done in this game. Saxony is producing. Polania is bolstering and upgrading, which means I get another power. Okay. So I am now going to do, for round 14, I'm going to do a bolster, which is going to give me my last powers. It's going to give me my power star, my only power star. So let's do that. Bam. There, you see it. I got the power star. Polania has the 4 mechs star out. Okay, good to know. But I'm definitely ahead in this game, which is good. Power of these openings. And now I will spend 2 metal. Boom, boom. To get another mech. I like the artillery mech, but I'm going to use the seaworthy mech for a very kind of specific tactical thing. The seaworthy mech will allow all my mechs and my character to move into lake hexes. Also, if I end in a fight and I lose the fight and have to retreat, instead of retreating back to my home base, I can retreat into a lake hex if there's one nearby. So I'm gonna take Seaworthy, and I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna put the mech here on the tunnel with my other mech. That's gonna make it harder for somebody to take that tile from me, and it puts 2 tiles. The Seaworthy thing is nice for getting my character over to the factory next turn. Hopefully, that's the plan. But the real mobility comes from having your mechs on tunnels, with the combination of with the speed mech. Okay, that was the deploy. I'm done with round 14. I guess it might be possible to ruin next turn. It seems tough. Let's see it. Okay. Rusviet didn't enlist. That's great, because that means I get another combat card. And so did Crimea. I guess Crimea hasn't done anything else. They've at least probably built all of their recruits, or enlisted all their recruits. Okay, Crimea is doing a trade and an upgrade. Maybe they're trying to get all their upgrades. Who knows? Okay, Rusviet got the recruit bonus for that. Saxony is doing a trade and deploying its 4th mech. So now he's going to get the 4 mechs star and be really powerful. And now Polania didn't enlist, so I get another combat card. Woohoo! So you see a little notice. The combat card pool is empty. There's, the deck of cards is gone. So, and it will be, as we use combat cards, they'll get recycled back into the game. So, okay, thank you. Okay, this is round 15. So the question is whether I can win this turn. Probably not, but possibly. Okay, so what do I have to do to win? I have to get 3 stars. 2 stars from combats, and also my objective is to force an opponent's worker to retreat and still have at least 7 power. So what that means is going after an opponent that has a worker with a mech or character that I can attack. Oh my goodness. The AI is actually playing smarter than I have seen it play in the past. Maybe the AI is learning after all. So the places I can attack here from this tunnel, I can attack the 2 mechs that are here. By the way, one thing we need to do is review how strong the other factions are. I have, when it comes to power, I have 16. Where is... Oh, there's Crimea at 9. Polania at 7. Rusviet at 5. Saxony is actually really weak on power. Let's also look at how many combat cards. This horizontal display up here, I can actually expand it to include stats on all the different factions. So the combat card is the 4th column here. Everybody has a ton of combat cards. Like, not even worth thinking about it. Just assume everybody's got a 5. That's the best assumption to make. Well, we just got that notice that we were out of combat cards, so that kind of makes sense. Let's see. I do. Let's laugh. Get something. Oh. Okay. Here we go. I think, okay. So, Polania is pretty strong. They can blow 7 power to fight. And they got plenty of combat cards. So attacking either one of these Polania spots is pretty tough. If I send 3 mechs or 2 mechs and a character, I only have 2 mechs and a character, in against one of those, I could win it and get my objective, but that would be all I would do this turn. If I send in 2, either 2 mechs or a mech and a character after one of these spots, then also, by the way, it's good to see what mechs they have. So Polania has. I'm I'm I have a mouse over on the Polania symbol down in the bottom right, right above the end turn button. And by doing that mouse over, it pops up a list of the mechs that Polania has in their abilities. So they have the ability to Riverwalk, Submerge, Camaraderie, which means that they don't lose popularity when forcing an opponent's worker to retreat. That's nice. And Game 1 and Speed Mech, of course. Almost everybody has. I think everybody has. Nothing that's going to help them in a fight. That's what's good to know. It thinks I want us to give them coins. I got to dismiss that. Okay. So the maximum strength that they could have is that they could dial 7 power because they have 7 power, and they could use 2 cards. We'll assume that's 2 5s. So that'd be 5, 10, 17 is the strength that they could muster. I could come in with 2 mechs or a combination of mech and a character and also dial 7, but have a 4 and a 5. That would be a 16 versus their 17. So I can't guarantee. I mean, there's no guarantee that they have 2 5s. But I only have 1 5 and all the deck's gone, so it wouldn't surprise me. I don't think I can attack Polania unless I go after it with all 3 characters. If I go after Saxony down here, they've got 3 mechs, so that means they could play 3 combat cards. That's just well. On the other hand, they only have 2 power. So they have a 5-point disadvantage. Also have to think about where I can get to. I can't actually get the character to a tunnel and use it this turn. The character can move too, but I don't have a Riverwalk ability, so I can't move the character from where it's at to where the mechs are. And then I can move it out into the water, out into a lake, and then to any of the hexes next to the lake. But then I'd be done. That's that. So I could attack 3 characters versus... I could take 3 mechs after the Polania position just west of me. What does Rusviet have? Rusviet, first of all, Rusviet has 5 power, so it's fairly strong. It's got this spot here, but I don't have a way to Riverwalk over to it. So I can't get to Rusviet. Okay, we're back to... I can't get on these home bases. The only option is I could take all 3 characters at this. If I did that, I get a combat star. I'd get my objective. I think that's the play. Anybody think of anything I'm missing? Alright. We're going to take the move action, and we're going to move the character here. You can see by the little chevrons it had to move out into the lake because it can't cross the river, but it can use its lake ability, Seaworthy. And I have to move all of my mechs there. I'm going to take 2 workers with me. Kind of the same reason I explained before. And that way when I leave this next turn, if next turn I end up going somewhere else. So the one thing I don't like about this plan... I'll tell you what my plan was to do. My plan was to hopefully go out, get some combination of combat scars and an objective, but use my character to go to the factory and pick up another action slot. The cool thing about the factory action slots is that the bottom row action is always a move. Boom, boom, boom. What does that mean? It means that once you have one of those, you can move every round because you can, the rule about not going back to the same column on your player mat, you're switching columns, but each column you're switching back and forth between has a move associated with it. Now, it only lets you move 1 piece. It doesn't, it's not this move that's been upgraded to mean 3 pieces. So, it'd be nice to be able to go bam, bam, bam every single round. This game is going to be a little longer than my comfort zone. Okay, I'm going to back up and do that instead. I'm going to do the undo. I am going to take a move, but I want to show you how the factory card works. So I'm going to move there, and I'm going to. Next turn I'll actually have more options in terms, or next. Now that my character is out here in the factory, it has a better strike range. I'm going to. Since I have a couple more moves I can do, I'm going to take and move some workers around. I'm going to leave 2 workers. I don't know if I'm going to do another produce, but I would like to get another mech, maybe. Depends on how this game... Depends on how things go. Okay, I'm going to move a worker to here, and I'm going to move a worker to here. Those are my 3 moves. My other 2 mechs are going to sit there poised. Okay, I finished my moves, so now... At the end of the movement of the turn, you go to the factory for the first time with your character. It pops up. These are all the cards in that factory pile. And it's going to let me pick one of these. And you can see that every card has some combination of top row and bottom row action. Bottom row action is always moved. The top row action, I may not care about any of these, but let's see. Okay, so this third one's nice. Get a combat card and 2 power. Even though I've maxed out my power, as soon as I go into a fight, I'm going to lose a bunch of power, so being able to regenerate it a little bit is nice. I don't care about upgrades. Spending a power for 2 popularity, I don't think I'm... spending a power for 3 coins. That's nice. But over here on the left, I could spend 2 resources that are not the same to get a mech. I'm trying to remember. Thing is, I don't have any resources. Yeah. Is that because I've moved off of them? Oh, I didn't grab the 3 wood. Yeah, that decision way back to move a worker off of that field and then not produce the mech, not produce the 3 wood, that compromised my options in this point. So I don't think this leftmost one is going to be that good. I don't want to produce. I don't want anything to cost resources. I mean, I could get more resources for sure, but 2 coins to get. I think what I want is I just want the one to. Well, I like the power regeneration, but I don't have any resources. Okay, I'm just going to do the one where I can trade a power for 3 coins. I'm going to take this one. What I really want is the option to move twice. I don't know, now that I've done that, I'm kind of wishing maybe I should have taken the mech, building one, but I don't know. Okay, since I did a move, it's got this glowing thing here for the upgrade, bottom row action that goes with that, but I don't have any oil, so I can't really use it. So I am done. The other thing I'm kind of hoping will happen, this might seem odd, is I'm hoping somebody will come out and attack my character in the factory. The reason that could be good is that whoever does that is going to lose a bunch of power, so they'll be weaker for a counter strike. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay, end the turn. Roosevelt. Okay, so this game's definitely going to go into overtime. Roosevelt is producing. Oh, Crimea is finally coming out of. Oh, they're coming after me. With just 1 mech? They're coming after me with just 1 mech. I don't understand that at... Well, I do. Oh, I thought I had 2. Did they bring 2? Okay, so he's coming after me with 1 mech. And I have 2. Now, Crimea, do they have the scout ability? Do I have the... I don't have the ability... I can't see how I can look it up at this point. I don't know if they have the mech that allows them to steal a combat card before a fight. I'm going to assume that they do. It doesn't really change my strategy any. I think I would have lost it by now. I thought I had 2 4s, so maybe they did steal a combat card. Also, Crimea. I don't know if the AI is this smart, but when I play Crimea, sometimes I'll just go attack somebody that, even though I know I'm going to lose, because Crimea, by using the scout card where they can steal one of your combat cards before a fight, you also, when you lose a fight, if you spend at least 1 power or a combat card in the fight, you get a free combat card. So Crimea can go and lose a fight and net +1 combat card. And drain somebody of a lot of power. Okay, well, I don't mind throwing a bunch of power at this because I'm going to get a combat star out of this. Okay, it's telling me that the most they can spend is 12 points. Ties go to the attacker, so I need to spend 13 points. So I can spend... I'm at 16. I don't mind spending 7. If I spend 7, I'll be at 9. Okay. And then I can spend, let's see, 2 3s. That puts me at 13, right? 7 and 6 is 13. Okay, so I'm spending 2 combat cards and 7 power. I don't care, that's what the power's there for. And I am going to win this fight and get a combat card. Okay, so... And... Yes, Nordic victory. Crimea just gave me one of my combat stars. Great. And they spent a bunch of stuff. So if the AI was smart enough to know, hey, if I do this right, I can net 1 combat card in a fight that I lose, they didn't actually come through with it because they spent a bunch of power. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Like has been reported previously, the AI in the SCYTHE digital game, they're not that good. That's why I play hard. I'm not such a great player that I can play against hard AIs in most games. Like through the ages, I got my ass kicked by playing against 2 easy and 1 medium AI. I'm still ornery about that. The machine is so gloating about that. Okay, it's round 16. My power has dropped to 9 because I spent 7 power. That's fine. I need to get a victory and a combat an objective and a combat card. The objective will come from causing a worker to retreat. Does it have to be? Let me look at this again. Force an opponent's worker to retreat and still have at least 7 power. Oh, I do have to be careful if I go into a fight and spend all my power. See, I was hoping to get that star with my first fight. Okay. As much as it kind of pains me to go yet another turn, I think what I have to do this turn is there a place where I can just have a worker retreat? A worker retreat. Sounds like something you'd do in a office setting. Isn't. Okay, this objective is turning out to be a little trickier than I thought it would be. In that let's see, does it have to be right at that moment? Force an opponent's worker to retreat and still have at least 7 power. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is it's not good. I can have... Okay, well, I can only move 1 guy this turn. I don't see an easy picking in terms of going off and using the factory thing to move 1 person, one macro character or worker and force a retreat. That option isn't there. Okay, so what I need to do is get in the best position to do both things next turn. And... oh. Okay. I really did have too much Armando today. I'll be right back. Restroom break. Okay. All right. This is why old man should not be on Twitch. Okay, so I'm not going to get the objective this round, and so what I need to do is I could do the factory action to do a move, but I don't see a move that's going to be really decisive for me. The question is, can I... What else could I do that would be productive? I think... Do I set myself up to go for a... My backup plan for this, in terms of getting 6 stars, would be to get another combat star, and instead of getting the objective, build all 4 mechs. I only have 2 mechs built, right? That's right. So to get there, I would have to... I also don't have any metal at the point, so I can't go... I would have to produce or trade, then bolster deploy, and then produce or trade, then bolster deploy, and you notice none of those options include any movement. So that's like 5 more turns. That's not good. So I better not give up on plan A just yet. So what is the most useful thing I could do with this action that would help me do everything I need to do next turn? I think maybe doing a bolster so that I get my power up to 12, so that I have enough power to possibly win a fight and still have 7 power left over to get my objective. That seems like a pretty good idea. That's the doing a trade to get more metal, so I could build another mech next turn and then do a move after that. That would extend the game to 19 turns. 18 turns. This is the only thing that gives me a chance of winning next turn, I think, is to do the bolster. Doing trade or produce. By the way, I do have a bunch of resources now. Look at, I've got some food and oil. How did that happen? I think when Crimea came and attacked me, they brought a bunch of food and oil with them. Okay, can I do anything? I mean, it's not food or oil that lines up with things that would be useful to do. Okay, I'm gonna do the bolster and just get the 3 power. Don't have the metal. I can't do the bottom row action, so that ends this turn. Next round, I can do a move of all 3 units, and those 3 units are positioned in a nice spot. So we'll see what happens. Oh, come on. Come out with another mech. Out somewhere where I can pick on it. Not there. Okay, that didn't... Alright. Let's see what Saxony does. Saxony, it's time for you to get bold and go attack Polania or something. They are doing a move. Ooh, big move. Move a worker over to the tundra. Ooh, and another worker over to the tundra. And a 3rd worker into the tundra. No! Take your mechs out and, like, come fight me or somebody. Let's... Oh, well. Okay, Polania is going to do a trade. No, they're not moving either. Alright, that's it. Okay. End in the list. So I get another combat card, except I think the deck's still empty. Okay, my turn. 17, yeah. Turn 17. Clock is ticking. We are in overtime. Okay, so to win, to recap, I need to get a combat card, and the combat card needs to displace a worker. So these guys right here, Polania, here on the tundra, 2 mechs. I can hit it with 2 mechs and a character. Polania has 7 power. Oh, that's right. I gotta have 7 power left over after the fight. So the question is whether I can Now, let's also look at what plenty of mechs are. Plenty of mechs don't help them in a fight. Saxony's mechs do. If it's on a tunnel, I lose 2 power before the fight. Rusviet, Rusviet only has 1 mech, but I don't have the Riverwalk ability that lets me go over and mess with them. Okay. Let's do the odds on... This is the place I gotta hit. So if I attack it with 3 units, I can spend 5 power. 12 minus 5 is 7. 7 is how much power I have to have left over, right? Force an opponent's worker to retreat and still have at least 7 power. Okay, so I can spend 5 power, and I can spend with... If I hit it with the character and both mechs, I can hit with 3 combat cards. I wish I had better ones. 5 and 4 is 9, and 3 is 12. 12 and 5 is 17. It can defend with 7 power plus 2 5s if it has them, which would be 17. Oh, if it has 2 5s... Oh, attacker wins. Ties. What am I missing? I don't know if I'm missing anything. Okay, let's do it. I'm nervous. I'm scared I'm gonna lose this game, but I do not want to lose this game. Okay, let's go in with all the mechs, and I don't have an extra worker there to bring in with me. Okay, this is for all the marbles. Okay, we're gonna do it? Yeah, we're gonna do it. I think I figured it out correctly. Yes, it says defender can get 17. If I go to 5 power and the 4, that's only 14. What did I do wrong? Oh no! 9 and... I did 9 and 7. Oh my gosh. Okay. Ah! Dang it. See, this is no cheating. This is live. This is the way it is. Oh, okay. Even if I spend all 7 of my power, I still might lose this fight. And it... Okay. If I only spend 14, if it spends less than 17, play another card. Oh, thank you, Todd. Oh, thank you, Todd. Okay. Todd, if I win this game, it's because of you. How did I miss that? Okay, that was I did do the math in my head. I just forgot it. Okay, here we go. 9, 12, and 5 is 17. Fifth place 17. Tie goes to the attacker. I win. 5 power. 12 minus 5 is 7. Alright. If I was Catholic, I'd do that, but I'm not. $14. Large victory. Woohoo! Okay, I got it. Okay. Alright. There go the mechs. Back home. And now I need to claim the objective. By the way, thing to watch out for in Scythe, especially playing the board game against really competitive people that won't cut you a break, is that once you've accomplished an objective, like you've met the conditions of the objective, you've got to play the objective card. You've got to stop and say, hey, I did that. Here it is. Everybody agree so that you get the star. And you can also only do that in certain points of the turn sometimes, right? Oh my god, it's so easy to just forget. And everybody's like, huh, sorry. Alright, there we go. I completed the star. Woohoo! And I won. Nordic went. Todd, you won. Todd Dares, you got this one. It's all because of you. Can't believe I missed that. I guess there's an advantage to playing on stream. Okay, so here's the point total. I got 60, 27, 26. Yeah, I won it by a comfortable margin. I probably could have gone another turn or two based on how slow the AIs were developing. Let's do, since we are here to teach, if you click on this details, it shows you the math behind these points. So let me explain this thing, because it's kind of tricky of where all the points come from. this, you see where the popularity heart is here? The leftmost column, except for the names of the bots, of the factions. And this is what tier of the popularity track you're on. So you might remember that the popularity track had these multiple tiers. You can see that all of us are down here in tier 1, except for Saxony is in tier 2. And that determines the multipliers, how many coins you get times how many stars, or how many coins you get times how many tiles you control, how many coins you get times how many resources you have. So you're going to see that Saxony has a bit of an edge in that department. In fact, they're second place. That the multiplier for me on stars is 3, because if you go over here in the upper right, the popularity score multiplier table, you pick the column that corresponds to your popularity tier, like 0 to 6, is 3 points per star. And so you see here, I'm getting 3 points per star. For Saxony, they're getting 4 points per star because their popularity is in the 7 to 12 bracket. So I'm getting 2 points per tile. You can see that makes a difference. Like, every chance I had, once I was done using the workers for production, or at least all the workers for production, I started moving them when I could to grab other tiles. That adds up to a lot of points. And then resources, I didn't have that many resources, so whatever. But I also had 24 coins, which is almost half my victory points. So all those times when I was prioritizing coins to get victory points paid off. And so I gotta play the little, I have a little thing to play. I'll be right back.
Peter Carbon Unit, your gameplay is like a pulsar. It emits a rhythmic and captivating signal that draws all towards it.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. That's cool. Okay, so that is Scythe. Armando, yay, take that machine. Yes, the machine failed to crash. All the tech worked. So glad I was able to play this amazing game. This is a great game. If anybody here knows anybody at Stonemaier, knows Jeremy Stagmeyer, which I've never met him, but I have a lot of respect for him. Be sure and pass along my appreciation for a great game. And the Stonemaier Games exhibition is not over. Next week I'm going to play Charterstone. I'm only going to play Charterstone as a legacy game that goes on for 12 scenario, or 12, you play it 12 times over the course of a campaign. I'm only going to play the first one because I think much of the joy of Charterstone is the first time you play it and not knowing what the legacy stuff will be. That was called Armando. You will not fare as well in Titan. Yeah, Armando is a Titan beast. He's a Titan machine. We're gonna have to play Titan. I gotta figure out how to have another player when I do this. That would be fun. But anyway, back to Charterstone. I'm only gonna play the first of the 12 scenarios, just because I want to minimize how much of it I give away. My hope is that you'll watch me play and you go, wow, that is cool, and you will go out and buy it. I'm not being paid to say this. I just think it's a great game. I actually think Charterstone is interesting to play on Steam because as a legacy game, it has a lot of, you're doing the typical thing you do in a legacy game of manipulating with a lot of cards and opening little boxes, and that's a lot of fun. But it's also the Steam version lets you go back and redo the whole legacy as often as you want to do. But the board game, by the way, as you modify the board, one of the things about Charterstone is that when you're done, the board that you've created at the game end state, you can play that now as a standalone game. And it's unique because it reflects the choices you made in your campaign. So I do have the Charterstone board game that is unique, one of a kind, one in a million, that reflects the campaign that I did play all the way through with a bunch of my friends. And we do play it as a standalone game from time to time, so it's really cool. All right, well, let's see. That is. Thank you everybody for watching. I don't see anything else in chat, so I am going to sign off. I appreciate you coming by, and Todd, thank you. Can't believe you saved my ass on that. So good. All right, I am going to say goodnight and figure out what do I do next. Thanks for watching. Okay, thank you for watching.